All right, welcome to this guided meditation on heroic release or forgiveness. And I like this definition of forgiveness by Dr. Sean Duperon, who said, "Forgiveness is accepting the apology you will never receive." This is a very powerful technique for letting go of emotional content that the mind holds on to, and it can really weigh us down. There have been a few studies on forgiveness meditation. A 2014 study actually found, well, it studied the neuropsychological correlates of forgiveness. So, what does forgiveness look like in the brain? And it linked it to less functioning in areas of the brain associated with self centered rumination, which makes sense. So, we start to think of ourselves less and think about the things others have done wrong to us or that we've done to others. A third paper looked at multiple studies on forgiveness and thought there were really three parts to this. There's a cognitive control part of forgiveness, perspective taking, taking another's perspective, and social valuation based on these implicated brain networks that the study was looking at. And a fourth paper that was a recent one in a 2023 paper in Nature Scientific Reports. And this found that self forgiveness is associated with increased gray matter volume, so like density of neurons in an area called the fusiform gyrus, which interesting enough is related to the mirror neuron system, a group of neurons that help us relate to others and empathize with them, among other functions. And it also linked forgiveness, self forgiveness, to high emotional well being, friendliness, resilience, less feelings of shame, neuroticism, and psychological distress, including anxiety and depression. So, much more positive emotions and much less negative mental states that cause us trouble. And then finally, forgiveness has also been studied by Dr. Fred Duskin, who's a Stanford cardiologist, researcher at Stanford Medicine. So, yeah, it's a validated technique. I just wanted to give a little science context. And now let's give it a try. So, you can please make yourself comfortable. Find a seat where you can be at ease. Allow your body to relax. You can take some deep breaths if you'd like to. And then just turning up the corners of your lips into a small smile will help you kind of gladden the mind. So we'll be using a phrase, and you can choose one of the following: I forgive myself for not understanding. I forgive myself for not understanding. I forgive myself for not being perfect. I forgive myself for not being perfect. Or I forgive myself for making mistakes. I forgive myself for making mistakes. So you can choose one of those three phrases, whichever you like best. Forgive myself for not understanding, for not being perfect, or for making mistakes. Then later you can invent your own or be more specific, but it helps to start general. And just as with the metta meditation, the key here is to generate a genuine feeling of forgiveness towards yourself to start. And the phrase just helps you bring up that feeling and you direct it at yourself. And then every minute or so, you can plop in the phrase, like just dropping a pebble in some water. I forgive myself for not understanding. So, what really matters here is that intention to forgive, to let go. And it's not important what it is right now, but something may come up in your mind. And then, without getting involved in that content, you just feel that towards yourself. I forgive myself for not understanding. You can allow that memory to be there as you feel the forgiveness for yourself. It's also possible that another person will come into your mind, somebody that you need to forgive. And in that case, the phrase would change and you'd say, I forgive you for not understanding. And then you can work with that person that came up, forgiving them until you feel like things are good. Maybe they smile back at you. Then you'd go back to forgiving yourself. I forgive myself for not understanding. This is a very similar feeling to the metta, but it has kind of a tinge of hurt to it. And it can feel good when you let go. You can allow yourself to cry if you need to. Or it could just be a sense of ease and relief when you let go of some old memories that the mind had held on to. I forgive myself for not understanding. As you go, others might come up that you have harmed in some way, and in that case, you might say, "Please forgive me for not understanding," until you're okay with that person. And then once again, coming back to, "I forgive myself for not understanding." And especially if you have more severe traumas, please don't start with your biggest issues. You can go gentle with it. It's your choice, really, to forgive and let go, but it can take some time. There may be some initial resistance to the exercise, but you can stay patient and forgiving and trust that this will work for you as it has for many others. I forgive myself for not understanding. And if your mind gets distracted thinking or involved with the storylines, you can forgive that too. Recognize, release, relish and remain back with the feeling of forgiveness. And then lastly, I'll just say that forgiveness is not saying that it's okay what somebody did to you. You're not letting them off the hook. You're just releasing the hold of that event over your mind. You're letting go. So this is for your own good. Wonderful. Feel free to keep sitting. And if you choose to now get up from the meditation, I recommend a walking version of this that you can do at any time during the day, where with each step you say a word. I forgive you is 3 steps, and then please forgive me is another 3. I forgive you, please forgive me. So, this kind of repeated phrase will help you also bring up the forgiveness and continue the meditation. My teacher, Bante, did this for 2 years, sometimes going for long walks on the beach, many miles of just forgiving. And he said, there's so much work to do, and I've constantly come back to this myself. So I found it very, very helpful. I hope you do too. And tomorrow we'll go back to our core meditation, but feel free to come back to this one whenever you like and do it as often as you can or feel inspired to. If you're in the Fit Mind app, there's a way to favorite the trainings. And so this will put them in a favorites playlist. And then you can come back to them whenever you want to. And this will be a good way to keep track of the ones that you really liked. All right. So thanks for taking the time to train your mind. And now we'll do a short lesson on how to become mentally stronger with mindfulness.